to have a session on cryptography. So I'll be just sharing the slides on cryptography where we'll be learning various cryptographic techniques, right? So let me share the slides first, in which we'll be discussing few things that is related to cryptography only. Um, just a minute. I hope the slides are visible now. Okay, so let's begin with what exactly the cryptography is, basics of cryptography. Now, first let's understand what we mean by the term cryptography. Cryptography is a science of disguising messages so that only the intended recipient can decipher the received messages. So whenever we want to send from data from one place to another, so we always concentrate on the security of the data, that it is not being attacked by an intruder or read or mainly changed some data into it. So what we do for maintaining the secrecy of that particular document is we do cryptography into it. Cryptography basically it is nothing just disguising a message so that it becomes in a unreadable form. One cannot read what exactly has been written into it, right? So it's a science of disguising messages so that only the intended recipient can read and decipher and read it. It also provides message integrity, authentication, and digital signatures. So basically, three main services, the security services that cryptography provides. The very first is message integrity, that whatever the message has been sent, the same message has been received. Authentication, the person who was authentic, that is only sending, nobody else is sending. And digital signatures, that no one can deny from sending the particular message. So these are the services that cryptography provides. So what cryptography is exactly a combination of two things, that is cryptology and crypt analysis. We'll be learning about these terms also. Let's first understand what is crypto system. It transforms what is the whole system about this? Crypto system transforms plain text into ciphertext using a key, and ciphertext is what is, it is an unintelligible without knowledge of key. So it is a disguised message which is not known if we don't know the key how to decipher it. Cryptology term is, it is the practice and study of encryption techniques for secure communication. So the practice and the study that we do for the encryption techniques for secure communication is known as cryptology. Cryptanalysis is the study of methods for obtaining the meaning of encrypted information, the how we can get the information from the encrypted data without access to the secret information that is normally required to do. Ideally, we require the information like we require the algorithm, we require key for the for getting the message from the coded form. But cryptanalysis is different methods for obtaining the information without knowing the key or the algorithm. That is cryptanalysis. Now let's understand what is the conventional encryption process principles that are being used from beginning till now, through which we can encrypt the data. An encryption scheme has 5 ingredients: plain text, through which we encrypt the data; encryption algorithm, through which we encrypt the data; secret key, which is used to lock the which is used to cipher the code; ciphertext is the disguised form of the text; and decryption algorithm to return back to the plain text. Security depends upon the secrecy of the key and not the secrecy of the algorithm. Algorithm is basically known to everyone. So the main secrecy lies in the secrecy of the key. And these are the 5 elements required for an encryption algorithm to work properly, for encryption system to work properly, right? So now in this cryptography, there are few terms that we need to understand first before we move into the algorithms and the other part of the encryption part. This cryptography part. There are few keywords. Let's learn about these keywords first. The very first one is plain text. So now what do you mean by plain text? It's the original message to be encrypted is called plain text. So the original message which you will disguise is known as the plain text. Disguised version is known as the ciphertext. So the plain text when turned into a disguised version is known as the ciphertext. Process of disguising a message is known as encryption. So the way you disguise a message, it is known as encryption. The process of deciphering, recovering the the process of recovering the original message is known as decryption. So once from the ciphertext, if you recover back to the plain text, that thing is known as deciphering, decryption, or you can say decryption. Here's a pictorial representation of this whole thing that we have discussed up till now. So we have taken just a simple example in this. What happens? So we have a plain text. Plain text is passed on to an algorithm. Let's say this is an encryption algorithm, example DES. So this is an encryption algorithm. Use a secret key for this. Disguise the message. Transform the ciphertext to the receiver, where the receiver has its own decryption algorithm, uses the key to decrypt the code and gets back the plain text. So this is how the things work in a conventional encryption principle, where there is a plain text, there is an algorithm, there is a key, we got the ciphertext. From this ciphertext, we use a decryption algorithm, we use a key, decryption key, and then we get the plain text in return form, right? So this encryption involves the use of encryption function or algorithm denoted by E and encryption key denoted by small e. So the capital E defines the encryption algorithm and the small key defines the encryption key. Similarly, decryption involves the use of decryption function or algorithm denoted by capital D and decryption key that is denoted by small d. And this is the function that we write for explaining the encryption and decryption process. So C is the ciphertext. Ciphertext is equal to encryption algorithm on plain text E using a small e key. And what is this is the decryption algorithm. Plain, we get the plain text. How we get the plain text? With the ciphertext used with the decryption algorithm D and the key small d. So this is the small equation kind of thing represented, used to represent the encryption and decryption of the algorithms. So now types of cryptography. So now what we have understood what exactly encryption is, what encryption cryptography is, what are the various terms used into it, what is encryption and decryption, and what are the various elements required for this process. Now let's understand in depth that what are the different types of cryptography. So broadly we have defined cryptography into two types. One is the symmetric cryptography or secret key cryptography, you can say. And another one is asymmetric or public key cryptography. So let's discuss both these cryptographies one by one. First is the secret key cryptography, or you can say it is the symmetric key cryptography. So in secret key cryptography, both sender and receiver share a common secret. So the secret is the key over here. So both sender and receiver share a secret key, and they both know the key. The same secret is used for encryption and decryption. So there is no difference. Whatever the key is used, that is used for the encryption purpose, and the same key is used for the decryption purpose as well. So E is equal, over here it becomes small e is equal to small d in the equation that we have discussed earlier. Hence this is also called symmetric key cryptography, because we have both the keys same, so it is known as symmetric key cryptography. Right. In this secret cryptography, let's take an example. If Bob and Alice share a common secret key K, then Bob encrypts a message using the key K, and Alice also decrypts the message using the same key K. So both of these, Bob and Alice, are using key K for encryption as well as decryption purpose, right? The operations performed by Bob will be C is equal to E K P. And the operation performed by Alice for decryption will be P is equal to DKC. So over here, this key K is same in both the cases. We have different algorithms. E and D algorithm is different for the plain and ciphertext. Right. Now, this is the base about the secret key cryptography. Now let's study about public key cryptography. So what is public key cryptography? We have in this public key cryptography, we have two distinct key pairs. The encryption key or public key and the decryption key or private key. So the two keys are used, encryption key for the or we can say public key, and decryption key, that is the private key. The public key is used for encryption and is revealed to the world. So anyone who wants to send the data to the sender, receiver, can encrypt the data using the public key which is available to everyone. Now the other one is the private key used for decryption by the receiver. So now the receiver only knows the private key and can only decipher the coded text sent by the sender. So the public key is revealed for encryption and the private key is used for the by the receiver only and is kept private. Because both the keys are distinct, hence this is called asymmetric cryptography. Because both the keys are different, that's why asymmetric. In secret key cryptography, there is only one key used, that is why it is known as secret key cryptography. And symmetric key cryptography, that is symmetric and this one is asymmetric. Now let's take example for this. If Bob has a public private key pair, Alice would encrypt her message using Bob's public key. So now Bob is the receiver over here and has both a pair of keys, public and private. So and Alice wants to send the data to Bob. So what Alice will do? Alice will encrypt her message using Bob's public key. Bob then decrypts the message using his private key, assuming that he keeps it securely and only he can use that key. So now Alice will send the data to Bob using the public key, encrypting the data. Only Alice can decrypt the data using the private key he has with him. Right. So now the equation will be over here will be C is equal to E Bob's public key for the plain text. On this plain text, encryption algorithm will be applied using Bob's public key. For the plain text, decryption algorithm will be used on ciphertext C with the Bob's private key. Over here, Bob only knows, the receiver only knows both the public and private key, right? And that will be public key will be shared with the sender to send the data for encryption. I hope this is clear now. Next, let's learn about the few of the substitution techniques in which we'll be learning deciphering techniques for the method of substitution. Right. So we'll define in main two parts, monoalphabetic and polyalphabetic. Under monoalphabetic, we'll be learning about the Caesar cipher, and under polyalphabetic, we'll be learning about Virginia cipher and the Hill cipher. So these are basic techniques used for historical ciphering techniques used for ciphering the data. Now let's first learn about monoalphabetic ciphers. So monoalphabetic ciphers, we have the very first example, that is Caesar cipher. This cipher is being built on the name of Julius cipher. Basically, what is done over here? Here we replace the text with some other text. So over here, let's say coding technique is used. In the place where A comes, it will be replaced with the character D. The place where where the character B comes, it will be replaced with the character F. The place where C comes will be E, and the place where C comes will be replaced with the character F. So this happens for the ciphering techniques. Right, Caesar cipher. So now let's take an example of Caesar cipher. It was defined by earliest known substitution cipher by Julius Caesar. And this was the King Julius who used to send the data in coded form for its military affairs, right? So it was used in military affairs first of all. It replaces each letter by third letter right? More formally, like encrypt letter key is equal to letter plus key mod 26 and decrypt by letter minus key mod 26. So very simple, very simple ciphering techniques in which every character is being replaced by +3 technique. So wherever, like in the earlier example we see A plus 3 is D, B plus 3 is E, C plus 3 is F. So this is how it works. We'll be going to add 3 characters into it and we'll be encoding the text. So let's take example. N plus 3 will be Q, I plus 3 will be L, K plus 3 will be N. This is how it works. Simply we are over here 3 is the key. So in characters we have to add 3. right? For encryption. For decryption, what we have to do, we have to subtract that same key, that is the key 3. So q minus 3 n, l minus 3 I, and this is how it works. Right. So Caesar cipher is one of the most simple way to cipher the text. So for D for A, E for B, A for X, and so on, and in mod form, and Z for Z, it will again start from the A part. So if we have a plain text, what is the population of mass? Can you calculate a cipher text for this? You have to use the Caesar cipher with the key 3. I hope this is clear and you can do it for your own right now. So this is the plain text. What is the population of mass? And you have to calculate the cipher text for this. So very simple. For every character, add 3 into this, and you will be getting the cipher text. So this is an assignment for you to perform. Right. Now next is cryptanalysis of the cipher. So how cryptanalysis over here means that how secure it is to use Caesar cipher. So we have only 26 possible ciphers. A maps to A, B's, and so on. So put simply, try each in turn a brute force search. So if we can brute forcefully attack on this, and we can make any of the guesses, which is Caesar cipher, only 26 possible keys, of which only 25 are often used, mapping A to A, etc., and does not really obscure the message. This basic rule of message check to ensure the cipher operator hasn't goofed and sent to a plain message by mistake. So ideally, this is not of much use as a Caesar cipher, because anyone can make a guess. Secondly, the very important thing is that for every repetition, like if I write seed, 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 so E is repeatedly used. So for E, every time I'll get H. For SEED, seed, EE will be replaced by double H, and that is easily cryptanalysis. So that is why this is one of the main fault in this algorithm. Next is polyalphabetic ciphers, that is the cipher text corresponding to particular character. But both of these cipher will be going to cover in the next class. Will be covering Vigennes cipher and Hill cipher, in which will be covering the shortcomings of Caesar cipher, and will be notified that how these we have overcome the faults in that particular cipher and are not being in here. So in the next class, we'll be covering both these ciphers along with the symmetric and asymmetric key algorithms as well. Thank you for this joining for the session. Thanks a lot.